So we're really talking about two things. I'll get to red light cameras in a second, but unrelated to that, that when these 10 fatalities, 8 were speeding, 6 were motorcycles, 3 were at a specific area that does not have a red light. But with the new construction, obviously, at the 3 Mile Bridge, you can see, anybody who's driven over that can see that you can understand where there'd be some speed happening there, because there really isn't anything to slow folks down. We have also been in contact with FDOT about this. They are aware of this. Obviously, that is a state bridge and a state road. So we are trying to work with them as best we can, and I know PPD is going to try to come up with some solutions there, be it speed trailers, additional enforcement, things like that, to try to prevent that. So again, FDOT is aware, understands that we're seeing this particular outlier that's given us some big concern. So we're going to be really ramping up our community awareness, public awareness on that type of stuff, as well as potentially some enforcement there at that big problem area. Because we're talking about it, red light cameras, we've had 6 full months of red light cameras. We averaged 97 citations a day over that span of time. 9th and Bayou is 31% of our citations, 5,557. Obviously, the biggest problem area, going along with 14th and Gregory, is 9th and Gregory, because it only has one approach. So 9th and Gregory has 34% of the total citations with only one approach. 9th and Bayou has 31%, but it's got 4. It's tracking people east, west, north, and south. So clearly, by a single approach, 9th and Gregory is our biggest problem area. And if you look at our numbers, June was the second lowest total in a month since we gave out citations, but then July spiked. We have compiled a list of the 10 of the more egregious violations. We shared a few with you early on. We have unfortunately plenty to choose from, but we will be sharing that on our channels and sharing it with you guys in the media and we really only do that to reiterate. Sometimes when you don't see how egregious these violations are, you assume that someone was 3 inches over the line and got a ticket. That is a rarity. What you will see on this video is the problem we're trying to solve. And I don't think any resident who will see the severity of these violations is going to say, I'm okay with that, or that this is something that's good for our community. So we'll be sharing that here at the 6-month point. Pensacola International and Breeze, those expanded flights begin next week. We mentioned a little while back that we on Thursday morning, the inaugural flight to Northwest Arkansas takes off, and then on Friday afternoon, the inaugural flight to Memphis happens. And we are planning on a special guest. If any of you have a good Elvis impression, let us know. I don't know how heavy the market is for that, but I figure you guys are in media, you're charismatic, maybe you'll find someone that can help us, or you can do it yourselves. But we're excited to have Breeze very rapidly expand service. Remember, we started with 2 flights to Tampa. We were now at 4 flights to Tampa. Now we're at 3 more locations: Raleigh, Arkansas, and Memphis. So we're very, very excited to continue to see our relationship with Breeze grow. Just quick parking pass update: on track to begin that new permit system, including a resident discount program. The things I mentioned to you guys before, we are still on what we expect to do, which is a 50% discount for all city residents. They would have a proof of residency, and when they open the Park Mobile app, they will only be paying 50 cents an hour and no fee. So actually, in fact, for city residents, they will be paying less per hour than they were paying when paid parking originally started many, many years ago, because you were paying 50 cents an hour plus a fee. We would actually be eating that fee as well. So all city residents, this will be the lowest that paid parking has ever been once that's instituted. We're circling around October 1st for the day and night street permits. Also, the resident senior permit that we talked about, the city residents over 65, that they'll be able to pay $10 a month, and they will be able to park anywhere in city-owned spaces without having to even get their phone out, which we know is especially a challenge for some of our older citizens, the technology aspect of it, and so we want to make that as easy as possible. So more to come on that, but we just wanted to update you, kind of circling October 1st as our ability to get all that rolled out. Recycling numbers: almost 19,000 pounds delivered last week to ECUA. The audit listed just 8% contamination. Same breakdowns we saw: cardboard by far number 1. And we are up to 3,000. We crossed the 3,000 barrier on opt-ins, so about 15% of our sanitation customers are now signed up. So 3,069 is what we are up to right now. And just a clarification point on the recycling area at Summit. Obviously, it will be staying. We still have a small number of folks putting contaminated items in there. And so we are looking at solutions to this. Yes, we have camera equipment there. We're looking at options. Obviously, a monitor drop-off would be a very expensive operation. Some cities have done that, where they've had someone, where you fence it off and you only have it open during certain hours and you have an employee there. We're trying to hopefully find harmony between people who want to recycle and us not having, and the taxpayers not having to take on that added expense. But so we're continuing to look at options there. But Summit will continue to remain open. We mentioned Cliff Collins and Adrienne Walker. They are here today. Any questions afterwards, or if you want to get with them, feel free. We're glad to have them. We both started officially yesterday, and they already have their plates full, I think. So we're glad to have them. District 7 Town Hall tonight, 5:30 at the Lakeview Activity Center, 1110 West Lakeview Avenue with Councilman Wiggins. So I know we'll have lots of conversations. I know we'll have folks from Baptist and our team, of course, will be able to speak to many moving parts of impactful projects happening there in D7. And then lastly, we got Labor Day closures, of course. Everything will be closed except the Roger Scott Tennis Center and the golf course on Monday for Labor Day. And also, historically, as normal, Labor Day will be the last day that the city pools are open. One outlier of a closure is we're going to have a public safety exercise here at City Hall on Tuesday, September 9th, and it will involve the entire City Hall complex. So we're going to close it off beginning at noon, and it'll be closed to the citizens for the rest of the day for us to be able to put that on. So we've never done anything of this scale at City Hall, but I think we think it's much needed, and appreciate Tim helping us coordinate that and get that done. So we'll obviously talk about that a little bit more next week, since we get a week between now and then. That is everything I've got, and happy to take your questions.
Mayor, on the letter from FDOT, what was FDOT's response when you said for them to do this?
I think it was fine. We have a great relationship with FDOT, and we don't take that for granted. Obviously, not every government can say that, but you work at it. And my feeling is, I'm not going to speak for FDOT on their feeling, but I felt that we were very clear and that we understand compliance coming from federal and state, and but an organization of that size to be able to move that nimbly, and that we would appreciate their help in being able to take that on. But again, it's not that we were trying to be adverse to their mandate or to the state's mandate. We just, there's too many variables around this, and we've got lots of potholes and sidewalks and everything that are critical levels that are on our list right now. So I think the tipping point is, given the date of completion. This wasn't a generic request. It's a mandate, and it needs to be done this quickly. So I think they understood from that perspective that puts a little burden on a city our size in terms of our manpower, and so we appreciate them understanding our situation, and hopefully that's the way we'll go.
So are they completed by September 4th?
You'll have to ask them.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I believe their letter was, it said if we didn't comply by September 4th.
Right.
There you go.
But they didn't give you any sort of date when they complete the project?
No, we haven't even gotten there yet. I stated our position of the need for some assistance to meet a deadline that tight, and they understood where we were coming from. So that is what our letter will be saying, if it hasn't already gone to them this morning. That's our formal response. That is what it will be.
I guess, are they reading that as complying with their letter, because they said a failure to comply would jeopardize state funding?
Yeah, I would think it's why we reach out to partners on these types of situations all the time, is to say, hey, how do we execute the mandate that's been given to the city in the best way possible? So, that's just where it's at. So when they decide to do it, what they decide to do, what other variables come from this, I just don't know yet. But we've been in contact with them. We've said we will comply, and we would like their help in terms of being able to execute it in that time frame.
You feel confident that FDOT will help?
That's been the indication that they've given. And again, that's not, that we didn't give any adverse threat of noncompliance or anything. I mean, again, we have a great relationship with FDOT. Given that date, I certainly conveyed our circumstances. We didn't get any initial pushback. Obviously, we'll send this formal letter, and it's something, I can't speak for what they're going to say other than we've indicated our position, and that seemed to be understood on the FDOT side. And we'll see what happens the rest of the way.
There's been a lot of discussion on this, I mean, for the last few weeks and maybe what could happen here in Pensacola. What have you heard from the community as far as should it stay, should it go, get rid of it, don't get rid of it?
Well, I mean, I think the City of Pensacola, politically speaking, is a 50-50 city. And I think, it depends on, I think if for this mural, there's folks that are certainly passionate about the what and why behind it, and there's folks that are passionate about whether it exists or not. And if the political message were to be something different, I imagine you'd see an exact inverse. So, what is the role of the City of Pensacola? The role of the City of Pensacola is to follow federal and state law, to not be necessarily picking sides in respect to that when it comes to adhering to state and federal law. So again, we appreciate FDOT support on that, and but philosophies and the why behind what the state wants to do or anything else that I would hate to speculate as to what their mission is or what their the reason behind any kind of thing.
What are your just personal thoughts on it?
I really don't have any. What I can tell you, I think when you asked me last time about this, I said I hadn't thought about that letter and that's not because I'm dismissive of state and federal mandates. It's because, I guess my thought is the same thoughts I have every morning. I wake up thinking about checking my email, seeing how safe we were last night and what happened last night, like us, our awesome PBD chasing someone down, with breaking into cars at PSC last night, for example, and mission accomplished with that. So that's what I wake up and roll over every morning and immediately check my phone and say, hopefully everything was safe last night, and we're focused on infrastructure projects. It is not very high on our priority list to be getting into lots of political discussions. At the end of the day, I feel like my job as mayor is to keep everybody safe, the 55,000 people who live here and the hundreds of thousands who visit here. And most of the bandwidth in my brain is dedicated to those things.
Mr. Mayor, what would you say that if ever a situation came out that they felt the same way about the graffiti bridge it's had in the past? I mean, we all have had political statements, and from good to sometimes even funny stuff like "Happy Birthday" finally turning 130 when he's only turned 30. But political statements, could stuff like that be considered?
Well, and listen, I've heard or read that comparison. I mean, first of all, the bridge is owned by the rail company. That's is one thing. And number two, I would not dare speculate on how FDOT interprets its signaling, law. I mean, that would be a question for them. I suspect it's not an issue because it's not painted to the road, but clearly it's been happening for decades and there hasn't been an issue. So, I think perhaps the apples and oranges here is what's physically on the road versus something that would be up and around the road, whether it be graffiti bridge, billboards, signage, anything like that. But again, that's one guy's opinion. I think FDOT would have to answer whether there would be a safety concern, a graffiti bridge, or if there was something that they would want to do about it.
From the work perspective of getting this done, can you explain again you mentioned something about the city project close to a state-funded road.
Mhm.
Can you just explain kind of the geography for our viewers, like where we're talking about?
Yeah, so obviously it's at A Street, which is a city road, but it's where this physically is in close proximity to Cervantes Street. So if you were to be going west on Cervantes and you take a left on A, that's where this mandate is coming in at. And so for that work to be done, the road has to be closed, which means there's going to be road closures happening at least in a left-hand turn lane going off Cervantes, which is a road we don't control. So, so again, when you put all of it together, how quick can a city of 55,000 have the manpower to go take something on and have it done in a matter of days? In addition, the complexity of a state road and its proximity that we don't control, we can't close down the same way that we can close a city road. It just seemed to make a lot more viable sense that if this is a date that is being mandated by the state, that we, in collaboration with FDOT, would ask for their support and their help to get it done.
Mayor, on the county city administrator, what are the qualities, you've had two, what are the qualities you're looking for in a city administrator?
Well, they don't have to be Irish, so even if my name's Darcy. But no, I feel like we're in a great position right now as a city, and we have lots of positive trajectory. I think whether it was running a business or working for other businesses, I always feel like it's always evolving. What's the skill set that you need on your team? Meaning, I'm so grateful to have Cliff and have Adrienne here, and having them already on our team also could shift priorities of because what we look for is strengths and weaknesses. And I look at my own strengths and weaknesses, as I've mentioned to you guys, of what are things that I feel like I understand well, that I can really be part of, and what do I make sure that I know that I don't know, and then making sure that we have folks. I think Tim's a perfect example. I think as an entrepreneur, having team members with military background that bring that structure and that dotting I's and crossing T's that us entrepreneurs sometimes like to vision and decision make, and we handle the top priorities, but sometimes 19, 20, and 21 don't get the attention it deserves. Having folks with that kind of more structured military mindset makes a good yin and yang for us. And so, I think we assess with two new team members, and when we were looking through those resumes, obviously I think there's some deciding factors on what your experience is. I think having someone in this particular iteration, I think having someone with years of city, county, government relevant experience would probably be a top priority for us, given the makeup that we have. But we try to always approach that with an open mind and say, hey, where does this puzzle piece fit? And based on the team that we already have. So we'll see how that goes. Again, it's been open since, I believe, Friday. I know we've got some applications in already. We haven't engaged that yet, but looking forward to see what comes in.
On the parking passes, the senior passes, you said it's gonna be $10 a month. I guess, how did y'all reach that number? Because I guess unless you're coming downtown every day, it might not be worth it to get the pass. I guess, how do you?
Well, first of all, any permit that would be completely free, obviously would then defeat the entire purpose of paid parking as a whole. In other words, not from the revenue perspective. There is no revenue generation from $10 a month compared to what we're doing now. It will be certainly less revenue that would be coming to the city by offering these. But it's like anything else. If it were free and then every single person goes and claims one whether they use it or not, then we could run into a capacity issue, which is the issue we've been trying to solve from the get-go. Why are we charging more money than we were before? Yes, we want to have revenue to build parking garages, to invest in infrastructure, and get 80% of that funding from people who don't live in the city. And so we've done that so far in the early days. But we also, the idea of charging is to create churn. Well, if you're going to give out free parking passes to anybody, and there's 10,000 of them go out, that that is adverse to what the mission initially was, which is you're supposed to be able to create opportunity for more people to park, not have someone with a permit that can sit there as we used to have for 8, 10, 12 hours at a time and not create that inventory. So, so it's just a balancing act, finding it. We feel like $10 a month would be, if a senior citizen works downtown, that's what it would cost to pay it for one day. So yes, of course, it's gonna be folks that are gonna be looking at it as, how often do I come downtown? But we just try to find that happy medium somewhere between, making sure that the people who are wanting these are folks that are using it, but making it plenty affordable for folks on fixed incomes and all of that to be able to do it. Because if they are only coming down once a month or twice a month, to your question, then it would be, they shouldn't do the permit. It would be much more cost effective to just pay on the app. Or remember, I know it's a big misperception, we take actual coins and actual money at the kiosk as well. And I think sometimes folks don't realize that.
I guess, are y'all looking at, how many of those senior permits are gonna be like utilized and they're not being utilized? Would you like reassess that?
We haven't gotten that far, we're just trying to get this established and, the only holdup that we have of getting any of this going is, it really rests in the migration of old permits to new. So for example, we have employers downtown that pay for permits in the parking garage for their employees, for example. Well, we don't want to move to a new system and then cause this big ruckus of, well, then now these people got tickets even though they had, we want to get our ducks in a row and we want to roll it out correctly. So that's really the only holdup of why it's not happening yesterday, is just making sure that we have as smooth a transition as possible. But one of the things with the senior permits is we are going to limit it as a pilot as to one car per household, one per address, to correctly associate and evaluate your exact question, which is, well, let's see how many come in. And if not that many come in and someone wanted a second car, we can offer it, great. But all of this, it's just like recycling. When you're trying new things, it's going to always be a learning experience. And if we had a manual that said exactly how many people were going to sign up, our life would be a lot easier. But it shouldn't stop us from progress. I mean, it shouldn't stop us from trying innovative things that could be good for our community. And so, we'll monitor that. We'll see how much, how many people are signing up, and then adjust from there.
Mayor, FSU-Alabama this weekend, you going, and can we get your take as a fan and as a former sports writer?
I'm trying to go. I don't know, it might be a quick trip up and back. I'm torn. I went to Ireland last year, and that was fun yet disappointing. I don't know. Jason, our PIO, went to Alabama, so he's already, his enthusiasm and excitement to bet me on this game is exactly my concern. So, sometimes when you have no pressure on you, with no expectations on you after a rough year, you can play a little more loose. I guess that's my optimistic look at what I hope to see from Florida State. So hopefully I'll be there. We'll find out. I'll be there rooting them on. But, we got a tall order in front of us. I know that. And, Coach Norvell has not called me for a motivational speech or anything, but I'll be ready on Friday night if he needs me.
I wanted to ask about the survey Jason gave us on the VO.
Yes.
I guess, have y'all made
Sorry.
a decision on that, or?
Yes, we have, and I skipped over it. Yes, so you see the survey data in front of you. We're going to end the VO contract as it sits now, November 1st. We've notified them of that. And when we told you guys a few months ago that we would survey our residents. And what we saw is that, yes, VO had surveyed some of their customers, but it was a very, very small sample size, and customers doesn't tell the whole story, because some of the potential pitfalls of this is, I was elected by the residents of this city. We wanted it to be a great place for visitors where they have fun, but their opinion, our residents' opinion, matters on this program as well, not just someone who's coming in for the weekend. And so, as you can see, even if you were to take yes and unsure, for the most part, there's a clear majority of our residents that have a concerned with this that don't see necessarily the value in it. But let me say this, we are open to multimodal solutions moving forward. This does not mean, this is not never again. This is, we should always be looking for opportunities. I like the idea of actually having a bicycle rack, rented bicycles, the manual version versus the some type of motorized version. Well, for a city our size, that's tough to get the pencil, that you might need to really subsidize that, or the business community would have to subsidize that. So, I would love to see some adjustment to something like that as Sun Trail comes in and all that. So I still think that there's real opportunity for us to have some type of innovative multimodal options, and I'm always open to that. But I think we have played this iteration out, and it's just not hitting the mark. And I want to be clear too, I don't put this in any way on the specific operation of VIO, the company, or anything that they've done right or wrong. I just think our city infrastructure is not built the way it is in larger cities where you have these protected bike lanes, where you have the ability for people to be very clear in knowing that they shouldn't be on the sidewalk, that they shouldn't be using it in a certain way. So it's an odd situation in the sense I really don't blame the operator. And in a way, I can blame some joyriders when you see video of it, but others, not really knowing should they be on the sidewalk, should they be on the road or in the road. I can kind of understand that confusion. And I think part of the confusion is City of Pensacola doesn't really have the built environment to make that clear, the way that you see it in larger cities where these programs are a little more successful. So, I told Mayor Robinson at the time when the change went from bird to the stand-up ones to the seated ones, that I would have done the same thing. It's not Monday morning quarterbacking saying, well, we shouldn't have done this, or let's give it a shot and let's see if it's something that has value. But not only do we look at the survey data, we have consistently looked at usage and what times of day it's being used. And what we can tell you is while the idea is noble that this is helping folks that maybe don't have an access to a vehicle to get around the city, and that's good philosophically, and I certainly love that concept, we aren't seeing that happening in application. We aren't seeing the ridership in other parts of the city or in lower income parts of our city using this regularly. And also the cost, I could argue you could probably get an Uber for about the same price it would take if you were going to be a couple miles away from downtown anyway. So again, I want to be clear. Nothing that the operator did wrong, nothing that to blame here other than that's what this was supposed to be. Let's give it a shot for a few years. It isn't what our residents want. And so we should always be open-minded if there's another solution that comes along to entertain that. And I know we will. So, but yeah, that'll end November 1st, and we'll explore whatever our future options are from there.
Mayor, on the flights to Memphis, as a proud Memphian, I can tell you my first TV appearance was as Elvis Presley when I was 6 years old in front of an Oscar Mayer
I'm
wiener
serious,
truck.
they are looking for.
I'm not volunteering my
Elvis
services,
song.
but if you wait, every kid in Memphis can do some sort of Elvis impression,
that's
so
okay.
you'll find one, yeah.
Okay, well, just find out what your rate is.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
pass that along.
I've retired from
I don't
that.
know what Breeze's budget is for this Friday debut, but actually, when we said that in the directors meeting, I joked that Stephen, our IT director, does a great Elvis impersonation, which of course I just made up. But what I appreciate is that he got about 4 emails from staff saying, I didn't know you did Elvis, so I accidentally started a rumor in our directors meeting. So,
How did that flight come about? I mean, had that destination?
well, what's great is when we add service with any of our carriers or they add larger equipment, the nice part is it's not about us telling a story or, I would love it if the mayor could go to Delta or to United and I can give them my passionate pitch about how great the city of Pensacola is. At the end of the day, all these airlines are looking at is metrics. What is the cost per seat? What's the cost per enplanement? And how profitable can this be? Which I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that it's a data-driven business. And so what I like about it is the fact that you see someone like Breeze aggressively adding service. It doesn't matter what the mayor says. It's the community saying, man, we are bursting at the seams to have more options. And so what happens when you add a new location is one of the biggest data points that all of our carriers look at is what are the most common flight locations, flight destinations that people out of Pensacola are flying with a connection. right? So for example, Las Vegas has been on a top 10 for a long time. Phoenix has been on a top 10 for a long time. Detroit, and then we just got nonstop service to Detroit with Delta. They're testing out seasonally on Saturday. So they're looking at, well, where are Pensacolians or Baldwin County folks flying to that we could now nip a connection in the bud and maybe gain some of that service. So I'm not exactly sure where those new cities list off the top of my head, but it's always encouraging because these carriers don't add locations for the sake of doing it. They do it because there's pent-up demand. And so that's certainly a compliment to our city, our airport, and all the users that continue to help us grow service. So we're excited for it, and maybe we'll get you to show us around and see that it helps.
I got plenty of family there.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else? All right, guys, thank you so much.